Hey guys, on this week's show, Richard and I are recapping our Disneyland trip. There were some delays and equipment fails along the way, but it was a fun weekend with Slack members and friends. We're also talking about hotel promos as both Hyatt and Marriott rolled out promos right after we wondered on this show if they were planning on offering anything else this year. Hyatt's promo is especially interesting with a new wrinkle for their sign-up bonus, which we haven't seen before. And we close wondering if this was the right time for JetBlue to revamp their loyalty program again. Hey guys, welcome back to the Miles to Go podcast. While Richard and I were with each other for a brief moment in time this weekend, we are separated by a vast coast right now, with him hanging out in New York and me hanging out once again in Las Vegas at Resorts World. Mr. Kerr, how was the trip back from Disneyland with your brief early morning stopover in Seattle?
Yeah, it was an early morning to get to SNA, which, by the way, love flying in and out of SNA, not LAX. That was the best part of the trip. Then got to hop up to Seattle, which I had not been to since 2013 when I left Seattle. I couldn't believe it, man, but wow. I guess thinking about it, I've never had a reason to go back to Seattle. I got to hang out with Alaska for the day, talk all about Atmos. It was fantastic. And then a very, very long flight home, although the flight out there, which we're going to talk about, was longer. But I just forget how far away the West Coast is from New York, man. It's a long way out there.
It is. And I think that's part of why I was pretty tired when we got done with our Disneyland trip, but still fun. And it was your first time at Disneyland along with the family. We did a VIP tour and a little bit of Oogie Boogie Bash, and I heard snippets of it along the way, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what it was like to visit the original OG West Coast Disneyland.
It was crowded. It was, and I think our VIP tour guy was like, it was the most crowded that he's seen it in quite a while. Disney California Adventure Saturday night got so crowded that we ended up tapping out because it was just getting a little bit sketch, but also it was like almost midnight body clock time for us, so the kids needed to tap out anyways. I thought it was good, man. Like, I've always wanted to go out there. It's hard to believe I hadn't been to Disneyland yet. I don't know. I don't think I had any expectations. I will say I am a much bigger fan of Orlando, and that seems to be the theme from the Kerr family. Disney California Adventure was awesome. The Incredicoaster's super fun. It didn't feel like Disney over in that park. It felt like a very nice theme park, but it felt light on the Disney versus the other parks around the world that we've been to. Disneyland, again, was just so crowded, man. We spent only a little bit of time over there. I thought it was really neat to go and see how small everything was versus Orlando. You know, even like the walkways and the castle and everything. Some really weird Fantasyland rides, Mr. Toads and Pinocchio.
Yes, Mr. Toads.
Don't get it at all. I guess I'm not that big of a Disney fan to know the whole backstory behind it. But I would say I really like the compactness of everything. I thought the hotel that we were able to kind of roll through directly into the park would be a great place to stay, but I'm not spending $1,000 a night or whatever that cost. But a huge convenience factor. Really enjoyed the Halloween party. That was cool. I had not done one of those before. And man, they sure do give you a plethora of candy at that place. Halloween candy for the next 6 months from the bags.
So had you not done a Disney World Halloween event either?
No, I had never done it before. Thought it was cool. I would say overall, really glad we went. It was a super fun weekend just because we were all there together. Hanging out was the fun part of it. I really liked the Hyatt Resort in Orange County. Ended up being a perfect place to stay in, like such a short lift ride to get to the parks and back every day. That wasn't a big issue at all. But I have to say, man, I'm an Orlando fan, and I don't know if we would go out to Disneyland anytime soon.
That was our first time doing Oogie Boogie Bash. We've done Halloween events at a Disney World before. I definitely preferred Oogie Boogie Bash to the Disney World events. Part of it was your comment about plethora of candy. They have some trick-or-treating at the Disney World events, but it's pretty light, and it's like, one piece of candy in the basket. So it's the other extreme in terms of candy. And the lines tend to be much longer. I mean, like, we had some lines for candy, but there was always a character there. Yeah, I think like the one cool one was Oogie Boogie, a character you don't see very often in the parks if you're a Disney nerd. But the line kept moving. Oogie Boogie was entertaining while we were there, and it was definitely more of an event, if you will, than when I've done it at Disney World. Overall, it's hard to say I prefer Disneyland versus Disney World. I think they're different. Because Disney World is so expansive. There's so much to do.
Expansive and expensive.
Yes, well, they're all expensive.
Expansive and expensive.
I really like Disneyland. I've really warmed up to it this year. The flights out and back are brutal, which we're going to talk about. But I like Disneyland for a lot of different reasons than I like Disney World. And some of it is the original stuff, like you mentioned, Toad. Mr. Toad's Mr. Toad's is great. I understand why it did not hit right. It's a little bit of a weird ride, but I
Pinocchio
love
was even creepier to me than
yeah,
Mr.
Pinocchio's.
Toad.
Yeah. But I mean, things like the Haunted Mansion overlay is just
That's cool. Yeah.
outstanding, and Matterhorn, some of those older rides, just really love them. And I love the feel of the parks. It feels older. We didn't because we were on a Sprint. We didn't get to do some of the stuff on Main Street. That's that definitely leans into the old school Disney stuff that for a Disney purist like me really enjoys. So I will absolutely be back, but the long flights are problematic. I'd love to bring you back at a time where we have a little bit more time and sort of explore some of the other things that make Disneyland unique. Because
I would do that.
Yeah, I think your impression of Disneyland was based on we're going to hit the ground hard and we're going to go fast and then we're going to get out, and it's not quite. It's different in that way than Disney World.
I would, if I happen to be out in Southern California, the West Coast, I would pop down to SNA and check out Disneyland for a day. That's super calm and chill. And you get, talking to everybody, they're always like, you don't have to do as many logistics. It's a lot more chill. There's not like this huge strategy, but like the Lightning Lanes and Premier Pass is sold out on Saturday for the whole parks. So if you had not done that,
yeah,
and even the Lightning Lanes we were in, some of them 15, 20 minute, deals to get through. I think I had just had different expectations of the chill factor versus it just happened to be a very busy day. Not that we had to worry about it too much because we were incredibly spoiled with the VIP tour with an awesome guide. Shout out to Hunter, who I'm sure is listening to this podcast right now. I have no doubt he's listening to this. He ended up being a great guy. And I mean, ultimately, it was just super fun hanging out. And I got to surprise the kids. They didn't know that we were going to do the VIP tour. And Summer happened to catch some awesome pictures and images, specifically of Thomas interacting with Hunter and just like giving him everything that he had for like, tell me all the knowledge, give me all the stuff. And it was a really fun weekend.
Well, you actually reminded me of something I want to talk about in relation to Hunter, and he was super awesome. But let's talk about our flights, then we'll loop back on Hunter. Some quick housekeeping. If you want to text us or leave us a voicemail, 571-293-6659. He is at Kerpoints on all the social media channels. I am at Pizza in Motion, and you can email the show, ed@pizzainmotion.com. I'm still struggling 5 days later, mostly because I haven't gotten any sleep since I've been in Vegas, long days while I was here. But it was, long flight out to the West Coast. And then we had, took the Uber to LAX Sunday night after we were done with Sunday night. And then we had our Monday morning flight home. And then I had a meeting Tuesday and then sprint back to Vegas. So you've had a similar amount of miles on the tires with that Seattle stopover. But as you mentioned, you want to talk a little bit about your experience on the flight out.
Yeah, it was a bit of a rough experience on the way out there. First of all, I had spent far too many United miles to fly the Newark to Orange County nonstop, which I think ended up being worth it because landing at LAX like you guys did late on a Friday would have been just rough for the littles.
Yes.
But man, we were on a United 737 MAX 8. Very important to note the MAX 8, not the MAX 9. We left on time. Newark was fine. We'd gotten to the airport a little bit early in case some TSA shutdowns or, never know what's going to happen with the government shutdown or Newark ATC. Left on time. We were in row 37 because the time I had booked, that was the only place where there were 4 seats together for the family. I'll tell you, man, the 737 MAX 8 has some issues. Number one of which is we sat down for the 5.5-hour flight and the in-flight entertainment in our row with the kids wasn't working. And when you're boarding and all the TVs are on and just the only 3 TVs in the whole plane that weren't working were ours, including the power outlets didn't work, which, I always travel with a charging brick for that reason. Mrs. Kerr does not, so she would have been in some trouble if I had not cracked a charging brick. But that's a bummer, first of all, with the kids. Again, for me and Mrs. Kerr, not a problem. We got our phones, and I had my laptop, and she had her laptop to do some work. But with the kids on a 5.5-hour flight, really counting on those TVs to work. We always do bring a Nintendo Switch and an iPad just in case, because this is kind of a worst-case scenario. If we had not done that, would have really been in some trouble. So that was a bummer that on a newish plane, the in-flight entertainment's not working. And we boarded and asked the flight attendants, we're like, hey, are these just need to be reset? And they're like, no, that row doesn't work. And I was like, okay, sold out flight, we're screwed. So that kind of sucked. I would have liked to watch a movie. It was 5.5 hours. I didn't want to particularly work the entire time late on a Friday, but whatever. The second thing and bigger problem, man, is the MAX 8 for the entire economy has only 2 lavatories. 2 very, very tiny lavatories. There is no mid-cabin lavatory. There's not 3 in the back like Alaska has. And because we were the next to last row, the entire 5.5 hour flight, I would say there was a line of between 5 and 8 people lined up next to us the entire time waiting on the bathrooms. Got a lot of folks back there. There absolutely needs to be a third lavatory. More concerning was by the time I did stand up to use it probably 3 hours into the flight, those things were disgusting. Like, because they had so much traffic and because they're so tiny that people cannot even maneuver. There was like, I don't know what people are doing in there, man. Like Emily and I always have that question of like, what is even occurring where this much of a disaster could have happened here? Toilet paper, tissue paper, paper towels everywhere, water everywhere. Like, just like, oh my gosh, like what is going on here? And like, that is a massive design problem. If you're taking a 6 hour flight, and again, by the time you board and everybody's on there and you take off and you taxi, like we were on that plane for well over 6 hours, and you got 2 lavatories for how many people are in the back of a MAX 8? Like, I don't know, a lot. It was just so never again, man. Like not a good flight. Wi-Fi in and out. It was not a good flight. Flight attendants, to their credit, they kind of recognized, we got a family with young kids in the one aisle that doesn't have in-flight entertainment. So they were like, here's free snack boxes. Offered me and Emily the free United cheeseburger. Like, I'm gonna write up a report on this to get it fixed. But what are they gonna do? There's no more seats. Like, and a lot of other folks probably. Or I saw, looked around, and was like, how many people are still actually using the TVs? And it turns out on a 5.5, 6 hours you're on the plane, most people were using the in-flight entertainment. But the MAX 8, man, not doing a transcon on that again. MAX 9, they do have the mid-cabin lav that's in between first and economy, which I think takes a lot of the stress off the back of the plane. But, man, that was by the end of that flight, we were all ready to be off that plane.
Yeah, not that you and I are big into this in terms of, pushing for compensation on things, but did they give you compensation? Because that's typically something that they would give compensation for.
Not proactively, and I keep meaning to fill out the form, but man, like
taking the time to fill out the form sucks. Usually, like I will give United credit, and it's obviously not all flight attendants, but one of the things I think they've started to do well is when those things are broken, like for example, Wi-Fi. The flight attendants are usually pretty good about they have their mobile device, iPhone. And they bring it over and they just, hey, I just want to confirm this is your seat, this is your name, and you just pick right on the device. I want miles or I want cash. And so it's super easy for them to do that. And I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised just because of how easy it is. And the fact that they brought you over snack boxes and they recognized there was a problem that they didn't, that they didn't do that. So.
But I'll tell you what, man, like landing in SNA, that was cool. Never been to the airport before. If I had done that flight and then been at LAX, I would have probably been in a pretty sour mood. But we landed. It was a good time flight to get out there because by the time we got to the hotel, it was right at dinner time, West Coast time. So we got to sit down and see Summer and her family and have dinner and then go to bed at a regular time. So glad we picked that flight ultimately. But I'm telling you, man, if it was a MAX 8 transcon again, it's gonna be tough to pick that.
Yeah, a couple of small follow-up questions and details. First off, MAX 8 versus MAX 9. I pulled up Aerolopa. 9 more seats in the MAX 9, 150 versus, there's 4 more E-plus seats. So 4 plus 9, 13 more seats to get to that extra bathroom. So yeah, certainly bathroom ratio significantly better. A whopping 38 rows on that MAX 8. So you in row 37. You said something that puzzles me. How the heck were you doing any work in a regular economy seat on a United flight with your broad shoulders and your legs? Like I can't.
Mary was next to me, and I took up half of her seat. That's how.
Okay, I say because I can't. Like I can open my laptop in an economy plus seat. I can't open my laptop in a regular economy seat. Like
I have to do like the weird angled up thing. Like it can't be flat on the tray table when it opens. It's got to be like up, and you're kind of doing this. If you're watching on YouTube, this dumb number that only lasts about an hour at most for me, and then I'm back on the phone because I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah, no, I have to use my phone or my iPad. I can't use my computer. So
yeah.
All right. Well, the quick tip takeoff on Hunter, and then we'll go puff ourselves. So Hunter, he was a great guide. I think the thing about him that like just keeps reminding me about this whole world of miles and points. A big part of why I enjoy doing this show every week, if not just because of the quality time I get to spend with you. He was almost completely unaware of the miles and points world. To the point of like he said he was joking, but I wasn't sure he was joking when he said, "So I shouldn't use my membership rewards points for a statement credit." Then a little bit of me died inside. But talking to him about things like Bilt and Rakuten and, credit cards and shopping portals and all this stuff and having him be completely unaware of all of it just reminds me of how many people there are out there who don't have 40 credit cards and who don't maximize everything there is to maximize in the game and are just looking for a way to travel a little better. And so if there's a reason why we're here on a weekly basis, I think that's it, Mr. Kerr.
Yeah, I'm sure they're all listening to this podcast. Since we have such mass scale now, we have all the folks who don't have 40 credit cards listening to us, which is great. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for listening in to the Miles to Go podcast.
Yeah, where's my royalty check?
Yeah. Oh, it's coming. It's in the snail mail, the 10-year snail mail.
Perfect. All right. Well, why don't you tell us about the latest Bilt partner so people understand why I said that you should go puff yourself?
Yeah, at time of recording yesterday, we announced Bilt Home Delivery powered by GoPuff, and everybody's like, what does that mean? Remember, everything that Bilt does fits into the neighborhood ecosystem. Started as points on rent 4.5 years ago, has expanded as of last week. The big mortgage announcement in February of 2026 is coming with United Wholesale Mortgage. And now all of these neighborhood merchants and capabilities. So that's every Walgreens in Duane Reade. It's Lyft. It's 40,000 restaurants. It's 10,000 fitness studios. National gas and grocery partners coming. And it's all about how do we tie this entire ecosystem together. And home delivery just seemed to make sense in a lot of use cases in the neighborhood ecosystem. Yes, one is for you sitting at home and you need something really quick. If you live in a GoPuff delivery area, which is most major cities in the U.S., you can get it and you get it really fast. Like we did tons of testing on this. And whether it was at the Bilt office or at my apartment, within about 17 minutes is what we timed on average, the stuff showed up, which is great. But look at all the other use cases, right? If you're a property manager and a landlord, what if you had a move-in gift for everybody that the day they moved in, you hit the quick, we have packages built in there for essentials and things you need. What if landlords just hit a button? Like what a great way to welcome new residents to the building to start off your tenure on the right spot. What if you're a restaurant and you got regulars coming in, and by the way, all the restaurants can see the Bilt members and know lifetime value. You can know who's at the tables if you're a Bilt member. What if they're like, hey, this guy orders the same thing every time. Now I can put that into GoPuff and send it to their apartment as a thanks for being a regular customer. There's just so many cool things that this empowers far beyond just the value prop, which I know people listening want to know, right? So you order these things on GoPuff, you get 1 extra Bilt point per dollar spent in addition to whatever card you use to pay for it. Again, we are a card agnostic platform. Bilt is not a credit card company. You can use any card and whatever rewards you get 1 additional Bilt point. And you can redeem your Bilt points at kind of our standard merchant of 70 basis points or 0.7 cents per point for any of the stuff that you need. And they got booze on there, they got candy, they got snacks, they got home essentials. And it's just another tool that we will leverage in the Bilt ecosystem to power this. And it's just it's seamlessly integrated in the Bilt app, super easy to do. If you have elite status, we gave you free credits yesterday to go and try this out. If you're a part of the Bilt Close Friends community, which I went to a happy hour last night. A couple of you guys said you listened to podcasts, so thanks for coming out last night. It was cool to hang out with you. We gave you another credit so you could actually stack free credits. I got $20 as a close friend and a Bilt Platinum member. Got $20 and free stuff to use when I get home tonight on Friday. And we're excited about the latest. It's another tool in the tool belt for Bilt.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever ordered from GoPuff. I've done some of the Gold Belly stuff. We don't do a lot of home delivery, so I'll definitely give this a try. Maybe this is just a selfish question, but when you look at all the stuff that Bilt is doing, adding partners that really, as you know, fold into everyday life, I guess my question is, and you may not be able to answer it, but isn't this increasing the number of points that are out there, and for the folks that are purists in this space, the inevitable talk of oh my gosh, they're going to move the status goalposts and make it that much harder to get platinum status.
I think there's 2 points here. One is we have specifically designed our status benefits to be things that are not of capped numbers. So it's not like we have a capped number of first class seats on the plane and we start to get ourselves in trouble because there's just no more upgrades to give. I don't have any elite status benefits that I can think off the top of my head that are constrained in number. So it's not like the more platinum elites there are, the less chance of an upgrade in Bilt. There's no mechanism there where you're going to have your benefits diminished regardless of how many people are in the platinum tier, if that first point makes sense. And the second thing is we set the status when we redid it. Was it 2 years ago, year and a half ago? We upped the status. We upped the status requirements to a point where we're pretty comfortable with how many folks are currently in the different tiers now. And that takes into account when 7 million mortgages goes live in February, and there's just going to be a massive new population of folks in Bilt. We plan for that. So I would say right now, I don't expect there to be any significant or any shift at all at time of recording in status requirements.
All right, fair. I like it because I still love my Bilt Platinum status. I'm still leaning in on, especially with the Bilt travel platform. I've started testing the home away from home hotels. I'm booking all my flights on it, and it's really helping me increase my Bilt balance. I can take multiple rent day offers in quick succession and still have points to redeem. So giddy up, man.
Giddy up.
Got work to do. Let's talk about Hilton. Let's talk about Hyatt and Marriott's promos. Hyatt's not really necessarily a promo per se, but I think it's interesting here is we just got done talking about the fact that we felt like hotel promos were virtually non-existent, and then that surprised us because we felt like there was some softening out there in the travel world. Maybe not on Dulles to Las Vegas, and maybe not at Disneyland during Columbus Day weekend, but definitely some demand diminishment there. And so there's two offers out here. First, we'll talk about this Hyatt offer because I think it's really interesting for folks who maybe don't have a Hyatt credit card. So the Hyatt offer is for the Hyatt Visa card, the regular Visa card. And if you sign up for the card now, on top of a signing bonus, you get double elite qualifying nights for the rest of 2025. And what's even more interesting is double elite qualifying nights for the first month of 2026. These are typical road warrior months. January is hardcore road warrior. That's not a leisure travel month. So, if you already have the card, you're obviously not eligible for this offer. But what Hyatt is saying is they're going after other people's elites here, rolling into the end of the year, and with 60 days here at the end of the year, and then another 30 days at the beginning of next year, you get a huge head start on status if you sign up for this card.
I like it, man. It's new. It's innovative. It's certainly a strong carrot to drop for people to change their learned behaviors.
Yeah.
What do you think it signals to the larger macro environment, if anything?
Yeah, I think so. First off, I think, and just to clarify too, this covers award nights and paid nights. It's any eligible night, so it's the big deal. You can burn points, even your sign up bonus, to help you get status. I think what this signals, especially given that, and we'll talk about the Marriott promo in a second. The Marriott promo and the Hilton promos are both weak promos. Hyatt comes out with a much stronger promo. It tells me two things: one, as the smaller hotel program, they need to grow. But two, that they're comfortable from a value prop standpoint in putting an offer like this out there because they want to steal elites from Marriott and Hilton and other places. And they feel like they've got a value prop that can be aggressive to fill those beds. And I certainly think it does point to this, philosophy that things are soft for 2026.
I would love to be able to see the numbers that this drives, both in stays, incremental revenue, and new account signups. But alas, it'll be something we're not privy to.
No. What do you think? What do you think it says?
Yeah, I think it says somebody's trying to do something new and innovative, which I don't recall this being done ever before. I think, it's a win-win for the brand for sure. The only thing I find interesting is Hyatt's been traditionally very protective of status, right? And shortcuts to Hyatt status, few and far between. Like, you got to do the time. So what does that signal about the number of folks in their elite status ranks? I think the only place where hotels get themselves into trouble with too many elite status people are room upgrades. Like, if you're at a property and everybody there is globalist, there's only so many upgrades to give. But that's less of a problem, I think, than the airlines have gotten themselves in with, upgrades are pretty much non-existent domestically anymore. So I would love, again, information we're never going to be privy to. Like, does it say anything about the number of folks in the elite status ranks for Hyatt? I don't know, but I would certainly love to know.
It could say that. I think the other thing to note here too, though, is this is the OG Hyatt Visa card, which is I think a pretty solid value prop card. We talked a little bit about it when we talked about co-brand cards. Well, and here's the exact point. I think a lot of people who churn cards for status probably have this card in their wallet because they can still get I don't know if it's $89 or $99 annual fee, but they can get the value out of the category 1 to 4 certificate. Like our weekend, Disney, the Hyatt Regency Orange County could have burned a category 4 certificate there, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure it's category 4. So, that hotel's definitely more than $99 a night. So I think that I think that's probably a pretty decent sized card portfolio. Card's been around a long time. This really is targeting new folks and new growth. And I think that's what makes it, a little bit more interesting to me. The Marriott offer, 2,025 bonus points per stay, up to 3 stays, and then more bonus points if you stay at the Marriott Outdoors Collection. Fine. I don't know if I'll have any paid Marriott stays between now and the end of the year. I actually had a paid Marriott stay on the very first day of this promotion and didn't realize the promotion had come out yet, so didn't sign up for it. And that was really just by proxy of we had an employee that was in town for a happy hour event that we're having as a meetup, and so I needed to book him a quick hotel room. And since he doesn't care about points because he's a college kid, I booked him a Marriott stay at Luxor. But outside of something like that, I don't know that 2,000 Marriott points is going to really drive my behavior.
No, I would tend to agree.
All right, let's wrap up with JetBlue. I thought this was interesting. So, I mean, first off, quick high level on the changes. I think the things that they added that were really interesting to me were if you're a family traveler on JetBlue, the money that you spend on tickets for your kids counts towards your elite status going forward. So definitely innovative, interesting, a plus. On the negative side, they took away some check bag benefits for Mosaic members. They reduced the number of free drinks. They reduced the number of extra legroom seats that you can get in a pretty significant way. And it just strikes me as an odd time for them to be trying to, I don't know, right-size their loyalty program. They're struggling themselves. They're trying to target Spirit and, force Spirit into Chapter 7. They're trying to take share from them. They're shrinking while they're trying to maintain their loyal customer base. And they're, for like the second time in a year, they're making it, arguably making the loyalty program worse. And I think, like, when you look on the Slack community, Dylan was the one that raised this thread, but, a bunch of people jumped in, Frank and Points Goblin and other folks who are just, like, underwhelmed by these changes. It just seems oddly timed.
Yeah, I don't think diminishing value on a loyalty program for an airline that needs as much positive, not only PR and buzz, but member sentiments, the thing to do here. Again, we have no idea what goes in behind the scenes on this, why it would occur, why these are the levers to pull. Like, were they costing themselves ancillary revenue by giving out too many free things? Like, maybe. How many people were getting more than one free drink? Was that a human behavior problem, or was that a cost problem?
Right.
Were people getting out of control on that? I don't know. My thoughts for JetBlue always go to exactly what happened to the family who flew JetBlue from LAX to Newark back on Monday. The flight was delayed for 2 hours. Like, it's just like operational reliability is all I can think about, and all I continue to have less than ideal experiences with the airline. That all of this stuff is not even things that I actually got that email yesterday, and I started reading it, and all I thought about in my head immediately was I can't book this airline because it's not going to be on time. Like, that's all that I think about right now. And maybe that's, sample size of one. I know it's a great onboard product. Thomas absolutely dominated the help yourself snack bar apparently on Monday's flight. He says he had 3 cans of Sprite and 10 bags of Goldfish was the final count that he said he had for the transcon flight. Like, I know all of that stuff is great. I think the family pooling, opportunity they have is great. This stuff is just all secondary to me, man, as far as my current thoughts and feelings on JetBlue are. The flight's just not going to be on time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just an odd mix of things there, and as you point out, like, these are cost-saving measures, or revenue centers, more check bag revenue, more extra legroom revenue, stuff like that. But I don't know, just seems puzzling. I think where I want to wrap it up is just a quick recap of our meetup out in Disneyland, because we'll have another meetup coming up here in a very short period of time in Las Vegas for our group as well, but. It was a lot of fun, as always, to meet some of our members. If you're not aware, for a few bucks a month, you can support the show by becoming a member of our Slack community. We have semi-monthly happy hours. We got a bunch of channels in Slack where we answer questions, and we do meetups. And so our friend Molly suggested at the Grand Californian, there's a quick serve, almost like counter service restaurant in the far back of the hotel where there was a great space for us to hang out outside undercover. And there was probably about, 20, 25 people there. We had a Richard Kerr sighting. We had a Summer Hull Mommy Point sighting. Glitter Mike, Molly, Chad. I'm sure I'm going to forget people that were there. Ben, May, Sway, Bev, who was a new member, her very first meetup. She was so cute. She sat down beside my wife, and I didn't get a chance to meet her early. And she talked about how this was her very first time at a meetup, and her husband didn't know she was there. She was there, and she felt intimidated. She wasn't sure what it was going to feel like, and then ultimately she's like, wow, everybody here was so welcoming. I might actually go to, a crazier sort of meetup, but it was a lot of fun meeting everybody. Greg was another person that was there. I'm sure I'm missing people because it was a huge group of people. Shaler, but it was a lot of fun. It was great to get a chance to meet members. And then a bunch of those folks tagged along for Oogie Boogie Bash. And at one point we had, I don't know, probably 25 or 30 people who all filled up a car on Guardians of the Galaxy, which is sort of like the same ride as Tower of Terror at Disney World.
Yes, I was not on it because I don't do that ride.
Yeah, I don't love that ride. But we got a picture of effectively the full car filled. Dan's another Slack member I forgot to mention, but a full car full of people from the Slack community all clogging up Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a pretty cool picture.
Great to see everybody in Chit Chat. Points and miles. A few of you very, very generous last weekend. Thanks to everybody who made the magic happen.
All right, Mr. Kerr, time to get back to day jobs. You got to climb out of the phone closet, and I gotta go do Vegas things before I fly home once again.
Does that mean gamble heavily and drink?
It means neither of those things.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, so not Vegas things. Okay, got
it. Vegas things, which is usually like get up early, go to bed late, and then fly home. So that's pretty much the anti-Vegas. But when's the next time you're getting on a plane?
I am getting on a train to Philly next week. And then the week after that, I get to fly to Billy Bishop on Porter in Toronto.
Love me some Billy Bishop. Love me some Billy Bishop. Well, I'll be on a plane again next week, shockingly. And then we've got that meetup in Vegas coming up. I've got a flight to Portugal for a work conference. We're going to pop down to Disney World just because, and then a healthy diet of Vegas between now and the end of the year. So a lot more travel for me to come. I think when I land home this week, I will have flown as many miles this year as I did last year for the whole year, and last year was a record year. So sadly, it's going to be another record year in the Ed Pizza flighty dashboard. So we'll be sure to review that shortly. And sadly, a year of delays. Again, I had another delay on the way out, and I mean, I'm like the amount of delays I've had in United this year are quite sad. I've had delays on all three major airlines at this point. I looked it up. I had Delta delays, American delays, and United delays this year, and none of them have been pretty.
I flew Delta from SNA to Seattle on A220, and it was the first flight out in the morning, very early. We pushed back, and I was like, this will be great. We'll be up in the air. I can immediately fall asleep. We pushed back, and we didn't move, and we didn't move, and we didn't move, and then the engine shut off. We had a little mechanical for the first time on the A220 for me. It delayed us about 45 minutes chilling there waiting to take off. But they got it fixed because I thought for a second there we were about to pull, since we still pulled out and then never straightened up and started going. I thought they were just going to pull us right back in and get off the plane. I was like, come on now, let's not start off the week this way. And luckily not too bad.
Yeah, I had a weird one. We were delayed about an hour coming out of Dulles this week. We pulled away from the gate. We taxied almost all the way to the runway, and then we turned around and came back to the D terminal. And on the way back to the terminal, the first officer came on and said, hey, guys, sorry, we had a problem with our weight and balance paperwork, and so we need to go back to the gate. And that was all he said. And I'm thinking, all right, well, maybe they need to reprint it, something like that. They get to the gate, they pop the front door, and they don't bring the jet bridge over to the plane. So now I'm puzzled. They tell us they're going to rearrange stuff in the baggage area. So they do that. I could hear one of the baggage doors open. They rearrange the bags. They still don't pull the jet bridge up to the plane. They top us off with some fuel. They finally pull the jet bridge up to the plane to close the door again and cross-check. We taxi away from the gate, and because they told us we took more fuel. And again, like this is a short taxi, so the fact that we needed more fuel was already odd. I mean, it's a long flight, Dulles to Vegas, don't get me wrong, but not long enough that a taxi would require you to add fuel. And so something, I guess, must have been really off with weight and balance. And then to top it all off, once we left the gate, we taxied again to one of those like waiting pads at Dulles where they queue you if you're not ready to take off. And the first officer comes back on again. He's like, hey, we took a little bit too much fuel, so we got to run the engines for a few minutes to burn off 100 pounds of fuel. Which, to be clear, like very normal, like the fuel operations is not precise. It's not like a fuel pump at home for folks that aren't aware of this. But the whole thing was just a really odd set of circumstances.
Also, if you think 100 pounds is going to make or break your takeoff, I don't like that.
It was like I said, it was like there are times when pilots and first officers come on and say things that give you confidence that they have control of the situation. There was not a lot that was said during this occurrence where I was like, wow, I feel better. It appears we took less fuel than we needed. It appears we took less fuel than we needed to. The bags were in the wrong position, and then we took too much fuel and felt like we needed to burn off 100 pounds so we could land safely. Okay.
Okay.
It was a little
you're
bit
still
odd.
here with us, so good job. Good job. Ed's still with us.
I did a great job sitting in my seat with no control over anything whatsoever. So good job to the pilots for getting us there safely. Mr. Kerr, good job for putting the Frontier Tales back into the show in your background this week. If you're not watching on YouTube, you don't get to see Mr. Kerr's excellent backgrounds. You just don't. And I can't even tell what animal that is on the back of the tail there because
it looks like a goat. I think it's the goat.
You are the goat, Mr. Kerr, so it's very appropriate. From me to you, from the bottom of my heart, the goat of the Miles to Go podcast, Mr. Kerr. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Until we upload again, we have Miles to Goat.
Expansive and expensive. Expansive and expensive.